Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, buongiorno, buonasera, dzień dobry, dobry wieczór, Yellow, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you may be. Jay Slater case. Dr. Davis report part two. I've got to launch straight into it. Part one was lengthy. Part two, I need to make more concise, but I need to get straight to the point of what I think were the two. To me, they are bombshells. I don't like hyping anything up too much, but by the same token, I like to explain why I see something as being very, very revelatory. And let's get straight to it. The third point that Dr. David got as an answer this time was about access to Jay's phone. If you remember, one of the questions Dr. David asked was, how did Jay's phone get access? How did DCI Hickson get into that phone? Because time and time again, we've heard that police have tremendous issues getting into a phone. And this is an important point. I mean, am I right in remembering that one of the problems with Boris Johnson's phone when they were digging into that whole COVID birthday party thing was they couldn't get into the phone, and Boris said, "I don't have the password," and or maybe it was Dominic Cummings' phone. I don't know. But there are times when the police just can't get into a phone. It's not as easy as saying, well, the police have special powers. They have a forensic team that can crack anything. I mean, maybe they can sometimes, but I think they sometimes they can't. So I don't think we should assume that any phone can just be forensically examined. And this is why I raised the question in part one. How likely is it that Jay would have given anyone, especially his parents, um, his passcode, his password to get into his phone? Most of the people I've been talking to say that that doesn't happen. That's what teenagers are very particular about. They might share their password, their passcode with another friend, a teenager. Depends what the phones are being used for. But I've been told one thing teenagers are very, very private about between themselves and parents, those older authorities, is they don't share that. That's like, no, that's mine. So I've always said that if Jay shared his passcode with Debbie or even Zach, I would have been surprised. That would have surprised me. So how did anyone get into this phone? Now, this is what I think is eyebrow raising. Lancashire Constabulary did not require, their own Freedom of Information answer says, Lancashire Constabulary did not require a PIN or biometric or other method to unlock the phone. I want to let that sink in. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to expand a little bit on what that means to me, but there's a whole rabbit hole I do want to go down to concerning this statement. One of Dr. Davis' questions was, how did DCI Hickson get into that phone? We got the answer. Lancashire Constabulary did not require a PIN, biometric, or other method to unlock the phone. Now, to me, that means possibly, logically, don't want to assume anything, but it could well mean that if Lancashire Constabulary didn't require a PIN, biometric, or other method to unlock the phone, that could well have applied to every single person from the day Jay landed in Tenerife. That means that not only if that phone, if, I know it's an if, but this is where we're all going to explore different possible explanations here. As I said, Accident Group could just tell us. Debbie speaks to Ivor. Ivor speaks to the Accident Group. They all know the answers, so they could just tell us, but they won't. Lancashire Constabulary didn't require any of that to get into that phone. So it could well be Jay lands in Tenerife and that phone is open. From day one, possibly, all of those, what I call security devices, were disabled. Yeah? So the biometric, if, for example, I don't have a phone, but if I pick up Mrs. Smith's phone and I happen to look at it as I pass it to her, it says face doesn't match. Yeah. I think that's probably the case with most people these days. If it doesn't match, you can, still get in if you know the passcode. I kind of assumed everyone's phone is like that. But when I looked into it, you can disable that if you so wish. I doubt anyone does. Anyone apart from those that have a special reason for others to be continually using their phone. But who in the world is that? We'll get into that in another video. We have to entertain the idea that Lancashire Constabulary did not require a PIN or biometric or other method to unlock the phone because no one did. It now opens up the idea, as I said, that from the day Jay Slater landed in Tenerife, perhaps if all of that was disabled, then not only could Lucy be using that phone, we've heard about the money transfers into Jay's bank account. It could be that all of the friends were using that phone. Well, it could be that anyone and everyone did use that phone at some point. It's now a possibility. So I think we have to step back from saying, yeah, teenagers often share the passcode. One or two of them might have been using Jay's phone. So Jay's phone is up there pinging away and these messages are going, might not be Jay, might be one of the friends. Hell, if there's no PIN or biometric or other method needed to unlock the phone for Lancashire Constabulary, we have to think, was that always the case with this phone? And anyone, absolutely anyone, could have been up there posing as Jay. Is that possible? Based on that sentence, yes, it is. Of course it is. Doesn't mean that's what happened, but we have to entertain that idea. I was stunned when I read that. I had assumed that Lancashire Constabulary would have needed a PIN provided by Debbie Duncan to get into that. Now, I say, we'll leave this for another video, but the accident group are now already shouting out, I can hear them, they're shouting out, well, Lancashire Constabulary didn't need that because Debbie gave them the PIN. Debbie had disabled all that when she gave them. That's not usually how it works. This is where I do have some experience in this situation. All I can tell you is I've never heard of police force going to forensically examine a phone and it's already wide open like that. I've only ever experienced it where they will get the passcode. If the person that has the passcode is present, they'll say, you put it in, let's see you do it. And they watch very carefully how the person acts. Is it something hesitating? Is it something they've done a million times? They watch very carefully how someone enters their own phone or someone else's phone. Now, I know this isn't a criminal case, so it's a different situation. All I'm saying is, take it from me, this statement is unusual. Lancashire Constabulary, they may come back to Dr. David and explain this. They might say, oh, this always happens. We're always dealing with phones that are completely unlocked. I doubt it. I would say this is very unusual. But one more time, Lancashire Constabulary did not require a PIN, biometric, or other method to unlock the phone. Why? Why is that? How could that be? Like I say, patience. I will be working through what I think that statement means and the ramifications. And also, I will do my due diligence and try to account for how it might not be a red flag at all. But I was jaw-dropping moment when I read that. It's like, how can that be? This phone, anyone can just forensically examine, I guess. All right. There are two more areas where the Lancashire Constabulary kind of replied. Here we go. Lancashire Constabulary said any records concerning the existence of a second phone in use by Jay Slater, no information held. Now that phrase is very important. No information held. It basically means that they don't have anything they can share with you, me, or Dr. David on that. In other words, it's not that they are refusing to share that information. It's they don't have it. In other words, they didn't look at a second phone. There's nothing they can share with us. It's not a jaw dropper, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Any records concerning the existence of a second phone in use by Jay Slater, no information held. Again, I would have thought, in my naivety, ignoramus that I am, that the coroner, keen to know everything about the background and the cause of death, would have said, by the way, seeing as you're going to forensically examine that phone, could you do the same to that one? Because he had two. And again, Jay Slater family, they don't seem to be mad keen for Lancashire police to get into both phones. Remember, phone one was forensically analysed, examined, solely at the request of the coroner. It's not Debbie going to the police saying, I want to know everything in this phone, please. It's this next one, which to me is just mind blowing. Point 5. Correspondence with Spanish authorities concerning examination, custody, or analysis of the phone. Remember, this is the bit where I said every time you got police force A and police force B, and police force A already analysed the phone, police force B is going to do the same. Police force B get the report from A. You wait for this. No information held. Again, no information held. It's the same as Jay's second phone. It's not that they are refusing now to answer anything on that. They don't have anything to share with us, is what they're saying. They have no information on record regarding correspondence with Spanish authorities concerning examination, custody, or analysis of the phone. In other words, Lancashire Constabulary doing a forensic examination of the same phone already forensically examined in Spain had not one single communication, email, memo, report, anything from the Spanish authorities. That's jaw dropping. It's just unbelievable. Nothing. Nothing at all. Now, I can't explain it. Well, I can explain it. There are two ways I would explain it. Number one is the Spanish authorities refused, and in which case the only correspondence that might exist was we requested correspondence with Spanish authorities concerning examination, custody, or analysis of the phone, no information held. Yeah, possibly if Lancashire Constabulary asked for that and Spain said no, that would fall into the category of no information held. There was one message and one answer. That is correspondence. I don't know. That could be Lancashire Constabulary being very, very cagey. No information held. To me, it's really stretching it if Spanish authorities just said no. So it could be that Lancashire Constabulary never even asked. They were told, well, were they told? They were instructed by the coroner to do this forensic examination. Perhaps they were instructed by the coroner to do it solo without any reference at all to anything that might have been examined in Spain. Is it possible that the coroner's instructions were specifically for DCI Higson and her team to do this without any reference at all and without any communication to Spanish authorities? For whatever reason, is it possible? This no correspondence with Spanish authorities, has that come from Adderley? Has that come from Lancashire Constabulary just saying, we're not interested in what the Spanish did or saw? Has that come from the Spanish just saying, no? Or possibly, does it mean that the 600-page report that Debbie had was handed over to Lancashire Constabulary, and in that 600-page report was all the details of the Spanish authorities forensically examining the phone, and so Lancashire Constabulary did have a full report from Spain. But then they can't really say no information held. They would have that information if it had been handed over by Debbie Duncan. This one, I think when Dr. David gets back, and we have to wait another 7 months or whatever it is, to Lancashire Constabulary, I think this one is going to be Can you confirm that not one single word was communicated from the Spanish authorities to Lancashire Constabulary and vice versa? Is that really possible? I've never been I've never been in a situation where the police examining a phone have already had police over here do the same thing and the family with possession of the phone, and then all they do is examine it themselves without reference to anything over here. It's not only they have no reference to anything over here, they have no information from over there. It's not held, they don't have it. That is what I find very hard to believe. Assuming it's true, let's assume it's true. There's no lies going here, no games, no semantics. Let's assume it's true. Lancashire Constabulary have no information held at all, anything from the Spanish authorities. To me, that means that there was a limitation placed on DCI Higson, and I can't really understand why. The limitation was, I want to know from the coroner, I want to know what you and only you find when you examine this phone. Anything else that pertains to this phone during that time span you're looking at, that anyone else found, is irrelevant. You know, it's almost like saying, forget what this cop over here might have said. I just want you to focus on what you find. I don't really understand why that limitation would be in place. As I say, I'm sure when Dr. David gets a chance, he will follow up with that and want confirmation. And I mean, might as well ask a possible explanation of how that could be. Is that normal? It's a fair question. Is it normal? You have no information held from another police authority that did the same thing? My overall feeling about this, well, actually, I have a good feeling. I have a good feeling that, you know, on the second attempt, Lancashire Constabulary came through with these eyebrow-raising answers. It shows that on the first attempt, if they just say, we don't have to answer this, and on the second attempt, they do somewhat, there's a bit of a game going on here. But what I find very, very tough to accept is that this is the way Lancashire Constabulary, any constabulary, would deal with genuine questions that are trying to figure out how DCI Hickson can say this, the victim's mother can say this, and they both can't be true. This is Lancashire Constabulary's way of trying to communicate to the public that that's just how it is. It still doesn't wash. All right, the rabbit holes that I think we need to go down based on this will be in another video. Especially the idea that Lancashire Constabulary needed nothing at all, to examine Jay's phone. The implications of that, depends how you approach it, but the implications of that are enormous. It has happened before. Leave it for another video, but in Lancashire, drug gang that got busted, yeah, they all used a phone that was totally open to anyone and everyone. So it's not the first time, but it's not what I expected to hear. All right, we will leave this mammoth report to another time. Hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time.